Hello, everybody. This is Jay with Guilty of Crime. And today we're talking about Eligio Bishop, the Carbon Nation cult leader. Originally, my intro was going to be the alleged cult leader. But yes, today, everybody, breaking news. Yesterday, we had a verdict. So if you see my thumbnail, the thumbnail said verdict watch. We are waiting for a verdict, and it came out. And the judge was so done with this guy that she wanted to get the verdict in and the sentencing all in one day. And you're going to see why after I tell you about his background and what Carbon Nation is. It's basically a sex cult. That's not what these women and men thought it was going to be, but ultimately that's how Elijah Bishio controlled them. Now, even in court, he still tried to use that method. I should have hashtagged the Daryl. Right now, I know you know talking. Yes, Nature Boy, but the other case where he he was his own attorney. This is basically what happened with him. He wasn't his own attorney, but the judge told him several times. Daryl Brooks, the Daryl Brooks case is what I should have put in there because everyone would have been like, "What? Another Daryl Brooks?" This is what he reminds me of, Daryl Brooks. Now, the judge told him several times that he has the option to get rid of his lawyer. That's the only thing he can do and represent himself. So, yes, Mr. Nature Boy, and I'm going to put that up there so you know who we're talking about. And I want to show you that verdict came in last night at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it was guilty on all charges. So Eligio Bishop, Nature Boy, and cult leader was convicted. But we want to talk about his story before I go backwards, which is what I tend to do sometimes because I get all excited and want to show you these crazy people. So I'll put him on with me. I'll do my normal screen and show you a picture of him while I tell you about him. And then we get to watch him in court and we get to watch some outrageous things, hear some of the story. I am not going to play the victim impact statements because I listened to them today. And as I was listening to them, I couldn't hear them very well. And they were also very, very graphic. So it was hard to hear them. The people didn't speak up very well. And then it was just graphic. So let me see if I can fix this a little bit. Scoot over a bit so I can be a little bit more in the screen. There we go. So here he is, and you can see what he started out looking like. And then he was in court. His hair grew out. He got a little more cult leaderish. And as we go, he gets more and more creepy. There he is when he talks to the judge. I'm going to show you that. This is when pre-sentencing happened. He was able to speak, and this is how he looked. He didn't start out looking that way. This was him in court, and on one of the days in court, he tried to get out of it because he said he didn't want to get COVID. It was ridiculous. We're going to go over all that today, but I wanted to show you what he looks like because he's just a crazy looking man that has crazy ideas. So this is him when he was actually running the cult. He wasn't a terrible looking guy. I can see that. And that was his daughter, by the way. He was having women just have his babies and using that as an excuse, like most cult leaders do, to have sex with multiple women. So I wanted to show you what he looked like before and what he looks like now. So that was him in court currently. He used the COVID excuse, so he actually was not in the courtroom when they read the verdict. They put him into another room by himself, and that's why it was really hard to hear the victim impact statements. And not only that, they were really graphic, so you can look them up after, but I don't feel like sitting there listening through them again. Now, let me tell you about Eligio Bishop. This guy's a piece of work. The Carbon Nation cult leader is what he called himself. His name's Eligio Lee Bishop. He was born in 1984, so he's not that old. I was born in 79, which means he's 5 years younger than me. So he's about 39 years old, and he has a controversial history of the whole span of his life across different continents. Here are some of the key points I'm going to talk about. At one point, he got kicked out of an entire continent for trying to lead a cult. So let me tell you about this guy. He was a model, a stripper, and a barber. Quite a resume, like Carly would say. According to a 2017 report, Bishop worked as a model, a stripper, and a barber. His life took a dramatic turn when he became the alleged leader of a group known as Carbon Nation. Later on, he started leading the Carbon Nation into Nature Boy and using that name. It wasn't necessarily the Carbon Nation cult, it was the Nature Boy cult. He wanted it to be all about him rather than the nation. So he has Atlanta ties. Bishop has connections to Atlanta, Georgia, dating back to 2009. However, in 2016, him and his followers moved to Central America and then Honduras. Finally, Costa Rica before being forced to leave in 2017. Did y'all hear me? Costa Rica forced him to leave. How can you possibly get kicked out of Costa Rica? I've never been kicked out of a bar, let alone an entire continent, right? Freaking Costa Rica, he got kicked out of. So you can see this man is a nut job, and you'll see when he talks. All right, so let's keep going on. After that, he started the Carbon Nation cult. Allegations and charges against Bishop, also called Nature Boy, is accused of leading Carbon Nation. And in April 2022, he was arrested for that. And a year later, indicted on several charges. Most of you didn't see this case, and I was watching it all week long. It was only a 5-day trial, and I saw bits and pieces. I didn't see any one channel that was streaming the whole thing, but they sure put out a lot of crazy moments. So I don't know who caught this. Anybody in the comments, let me know if you caught this. Also, please like and subscribe. It's helping the algorithms grow my page. I've only been here for about a month, and I'm getting lots of views, and I have quite a bit of followers for a month. Thank you to everybody that's helping me out. So here are the allegations. This is why he was on trial. Rape, false imprisonment, and 3 counts of prohibition on nude or sexually explicit electronic transmissions. So that was a day in court that they were talking about him sending sex photos and images and videos. He probably was making money off of it, even though he was using that as a cult, draw for the women and saying that he needs it. He really manipulated these women. In the victim impact statements, if you can hear them and get through them, you'll hear them talk about that. So revenge porn and sex cult claims came up in court. So he used that as revenge towards the women and, sold them. If they didn't do what he wanted, he would send it out. He would tell them he was going to do it, and he probably did. Well, people got a hold of it, and there was people that testified. We'll see clips of some of those people, or maybe just one. A former cult member who identified herself as Bishop's girlfriend at the time stated that he posted revenge porn after she left the group. He really tried to talk her out of leaving the group, and she did not want to. So after that, he put the porn out there that he said he was going to use for just them. Of course, nobody ever does that, right? They never just keep it to themselves. So lesson to y'all, don't listen to that. Either don't show your face or be proud of it and own it. Those are the 2 things I'm going to say about, you're going to use the P-Hub website. Own it or don't use your face. Now, a former cult member that was his girlfriend also stated that after posting the revenge porn, she went to the police, and the police reports revealed that she joined a sex cult led by Bishop, and that's what got him into this hot water, because he posted the explicit videos of him and herself without her consent on his social media platforms. Now I have a clip of that, and they're going to show his social media platforms with those pictures blurred out. So a lot of that in the cult the abuse was also not only sexual but emotional abuse. He also had a girlfriend and a wife and many other girlfriends because, as cult members do, they have many so they can have a ton of babies and they want to think that they're God. This guy actually thinks he is God himself. He says it, and he even tells the judge, I am God. And he truly believes it. So Bishop's wife was also a former cult member, and she was another person that accused him of sexual and emotional abuse within the group. There was 3 or 4 girls that did the victim impact statement and testified against him to get the verdict guilty, the verdict, which was guilty. So the trial just happened this last week. It was in DeKalb County, Georgia, and I was going to tell you about him being in there without bond since April 22, but now he's never getting out. So during the trial, he had COVID concerns and one day, and he argued with the judge. He chose to watch the proceedings from the other room, and he said that he feared COVID, which the judge called him out on and said that's a complete lie, but whatever you want to do. So the witness testimonies were the former cult members. They testified about their experiences. Some claim that any violence within the group was staged for actual online attention. One of the witnesses even considered the group more of a tribe than a cult, emphasizing that they lived by and agreed upon the rules. Others believe Bishop to be a god or a messiah. What do you think about that? People actually really thought that he was a messiah or a god. I mean, look at this guy where I don't like the pictures where you can't see his face, but when you look at it, even this guy here with his baby and this funky hair thing and him trying to be some like African cult leader, and then you see him disgraced in prison, and the things he says here is just ridiculous. I'm going to play this clip at the very end because this was his sentencing statement, and the judge asked that he only address her, and what he addresses her with is very funny. Everybody, it's ridiculous, I gotta say. So like and subscribe, everybody. I see a couple of new people popping on here. I'm Jay Scott with Guilty of Crime. Please help my channel, share this, like it, watch it. And yeah, I see Sarah talking about it happening years ago. If you're on chat, if you don't mind, when you were 17, the Jesus Army in Northampton, UK managed to leave, and they were all investigated. Nothing bad happened, thank God, but they were messed up. Sarah, you're lucky to have gotten out of that, and to have gotten out of that. Hopefully you're out of that cult mentality. Hopefully you've got some kind of therapy. I'm sure you have support. You look beautiful in your picture that I see there, and I hope that you are healthy and living a good life. And absolutely, it's manipulation to the extreme. So these women, once they testified, they actually talked about the manipulation, how much they thought they loved him. And while they were talking about that, he was just sitting there laughing, shaking his head, saying that's ridiculous. They're trying to make him look bad. Yeah, Sarah, thankfully you got out of that. There's so many people. There was even men on there that were giving victim impact statements that believed in this guy, thought he was a god and a messiah, and are now asking for forgiveness. So yeah, it's not just women, it's anybody. And yeah, unhealthy minds. And when you get a lot of people together, that's what can happen. You can get a ton of people together in a community that believe one thing and one thing only. So yeah, this is something I really wanted to show because I'm not really sure why it didn't make it really big, but I'm going to bring this story to y'all. I always like the stories that don't make it really big, so then I can hop on them and tell you about it. And yeah, you're in your 40s now. That's great. Me too. 40s are better. We're always a lot more strong-minded at that age if we learn from our mistakes, right? And good seeing you here, Sarah and Carly and everybody else. So the last of this, and it's really surprising that they thought he was a god or a messiah, but they really did. They followed him around to different places in the world, as you can see, in Central America, Honduras, and then getting kicked out of Costa Rica. Amazing. So I'm glad that at some point the women stood up. I looked up anything that he may have had. And he brings this up in court to the judge. He actually has a clean criminal record, everybody. Somehow he escaped having a criminal record anywhere. They couldn't find anything. So Bishop's attorney actually argued for the release of his bond in 2022 for him sitting in jail up until now, which we know he would have disappeared, everybody. We know he would have went to another country. That his lawyer said he had a clean criminal history and there was minimal risk of intimidation to the victims and any witnesses, which we know is not true because he was taunting them in court. His holistic lifestyle and teachings is what he claimed. Bishop and his followers use social media to promote their holistic lifestyle, especially during the times when online engagement was low. Of course, he used that to get funding and also used the sex images as ways to draw people in. And yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it, right? Social media is one of those things right now that we're never going to get away from. It's only going to get bigger and bigger. And yeah, this was here. This is his photo of him being arrested. And it looks like that was the house he was living in. And he probably had multiple people living there with him. So marital status for him now, as of now, there's no specific information available about his marital status. He was married. So his whole entire life has just been marked as controversy, allegations, and the leadership of a group that some consider a cult. It's a catchy phrase for online, but I do think it would have turned into a cult, and it was somewhat of a cult. Some cults are smaller, some cults are bigger, but if you got a bunch of people that are like-minded doing things that are just out of whack, I consider that a cult. So the trial's no longer ongoing. I'm happy to tell you that they reached a verdict. And I'm going to even tell you what his sentence was, y'all. So this man was sentenced to LWOP. Everyone knows what that is, right? Life without parole plus 10 years, everybody. So that was the sentence that he got. All done. He's not going to be doing that anymore. He's not going to get away with it. Life without parole plus 10 years, all in the same day of the guilty verdict being read. If you want to stay with me, everybody and passersby, I'm going to show you some videos of the court proceedings. They're not going to be long. I'll tell you a bit of a story. I'm going to show you some of the ridiculousness going on. And again, there wasn't too much on him other than what I was able to find that I'm talking about here. And yeah, so let's get into it, everybody, so you can see some more images and how he talks and just what a ridiculous man he is.
The defendant, Eligio Bishop, is charged with raping a woman who wanted to leave his religious group that he called Carbon Nation. Our own Court TV, Ted Rollins, has a closer look at the case.
In this video, I will be teaching you how to think. And I know a lot of people are already saying, mind control.
The alleged cult leader of Carbon Nation, Eligio Nature Boy Bishop, was arrested after a former cult member claimed he posted revenge porn after she left him.
But truly, I'm a really sweet person. They want to crucify me, they want me dead. They're going to hate around me. That's like any other prophet. Only me, I'm the return of Christ.
Carbon Nation is a polygamous group that believes in nudism, sexual education, veganism, and that members hand over all financial information to their leader, Eligio Bishop. He has amassed significant followings on YouTube and Instagram. A former member of his group spoke with an Atlanta news station.
He literally held me hostage. He took all of my identification, my passport, my birth certificate, my social, my bank cards, everything, you name it.
Court documents claim in March of 2022, Bishop raped one of his members after refusing to let her leave.
I'll stop every little while through this and talk a little bit just because I don't want it to get pulled down. But you can see here, probably why a lot of people didn't cover this is because what you're hearing here, these words, I couldn't even put those in my tags or anything like that because it would have just got flagged right away. And not that I really want to, because if you were to look up those tags, it would be bad. here on social media, but I just want you to see the ridiculousness and how he was controlling them, and the control that's really unheard of for you to say, I need all of your information and turn over your money to me. I mean, honestly, let's be real. A lot of churches do that. They take a 10% and they suck you in. So I'm not saying churches are bad, but a lot of churches tend to do this on a larger scale. He did this on a smaller scale and incorporated things that are unspeakable. Let's keep listening and watching.
Then posted the allegation says the videos onto his social media pages.
So it's like, lock up all the real men, all the dominant males. Let's lock them all up. You know what? I still forgive her.
Bishop is charged with rape, false imprisonment, and 3 charges of prohibition on nude or sexually explicit electronic transmissions. He's pled not guilty, claiming she consented to participating in the sexual act and has never held anyone against their will.
I want to apologize if I offended anybody in any kind of way. I said it, the truth, in the wrong way. I stand by everything that I stand by.
The trial kicked off yesterday with opening statements. We want to take a look at some of those sites first from the state and then the defense.
The thread that runs through this entire story, really from the very beginning, is a desire, a thirst for knowledge, something on a spiritual level, something that transcends eras, cultures, distance. Young people experiencing and coming out into the world on their own for the first time, longing for a kind of knowledge, spirituality, of belonging. Eligio Bishop promised that. He promised that he had all of the answers to all of their questions, the answers to their prayers, and that he could fill their spiritual voids. He alone could speak the truth. He alone showed them what they could be, in tune with nature, living off the land, a communal sort of paradise. Newell first saw Eligio Bishop and his group in a restaurant where she worked. She was 22. It was about 2018. She was intrigued. The way they dressed, the way they talked, they seemed so genuine. She kept in touch with the defendant online, and she was planning a trip overseas to Bali. Instead, she left home and joined the defendant's group. Another thread that runs through this case is power. This defendant's desire to maintain power over the people in his group. There was this atmosphere of fear and violence within the group, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Who was going to be next? Power, accomplished through the ever-looming threat of physical violence. The second part of that preface, though, what the defendant did with that power. The answer to that, the evidence will show, is sex. You will hear, again from the former members, that this defendant had his choice of the women in the group. When they reached...
Yeah, I'm looking at everybody's comments there, and you're right. It was guitars and music and women sitting around and him selling them the idea of living off the land and they only need each other. And as long as they follow him as the Messiah, he'll take care of them. They won't have to worry about the day-to-day grind that we all deal with. That's life. They don't have to work. They can just get pregnant and have babies and he'll take care of them and they'll do kumbaya all day, right? And Dura 13, that's really cool that you saw some of those videos on there. I'm going to have to look up his social media. There are some clips that I have on it, but I don't tend to do those super deep dives like that. I like to stick more to the story than speculate. Sometimes I'll do it. I was looking at that Stephen murder last night, the Sato case where they found her body, and I was appalled, and the comments on the social media were crazy. So yeah, going back once they get convicted on their social media, sometimes it's questionable. Let's continue listening.
His room, he grabbed her in his arms and literally would not let her go. She was crying and she told him she had to leave, that he would not let her go. He asked for sex one last time. She told him no. She had to leave, but he would not let her go. He asked again and again. She said no, again and again. He put her on the bed. She told him no. She had to leave, but he would not let her leave. He asked again, one last time. And finally, after countless times of saying no, realizing she wasn't leaving that room unless she gave in, she said, okay. They started having sex and she pushed him off. But even then, he would not let her leave. He flipped her over and penetrated her from behind as she was crying. He escaped the next morning before anyone woke up.
I know you see his faces, everybody. If you're not just listening to it and you're watching, this is how he was the entire time. He acted like he was appalled. He acted like they were making stuff up and everybody was lying against the Messiah.
Let's go back and look at March 24th, 2022. This defendant, along with some other people, were living in a house. This essentially was a polygamous relationship. This defendant had a woman that was considered to be his queen, and then there were other women that were there as well. We're not here to hide it from you. That's not what he's charged with, okay? Now, on March 24th, 2022, indicated, based on what she told law enforcement, that she wanted to leave the house. And so she wrote text messages on that day that will be evidence. But other things that are going to be extraordinarily relevant about March 24th, 2022 is her interview with law enforcement and the different things that she did. So on March 24th, 2022, she ended up leaving the house the next morning, which was the 25th, okay? But on that day, between the time she talks to law enforcement, which is not until April of the next month, essentially, 2 weeks later, she gives an interview to law enforcement. She never actually tells law enforcement that Mr. Bishop raped her. What she did was she came down to the DeKalb County Courthouse and she attempted to get a misdemeanor warrant against Mr. Bishop. And in that misdemeanor warrant, she didn't say anything about being raped. She said that he had posted some videos online that she wanted him to take down. That was it. She never said anything about being falsely imprisoned because she had to make a sworn application in front of a judge in order to get a warrant taken out. So they scheduled a hearing. In that, there was never a single word about rape. She described going back into the house and that she and Mr. Bishop made love. Those were the words that she used. She additionally said that she believed Mr. Bishop was faking it, that he didn't really love her, but that he was faking being excited to have intercourse with her. Not a single word about rape, not a single word about false imprisonment. The state's going to say, and they're going to put in evidence to prosecute, that Mr. Bishop falsely imprisoned. And you just heard the state, that through his words and my words are not evidence, but you just heard the state say that she left the house, she called an Uber. I can't imagine how you would be falsely imprisoned if you have the ability to call an Uber. But she alleged that she was being beaten by another person. And so because she was being beaten by this other person, she decided to leave. That's what he just said. She packed her bags. Nobody stopped her from packing her bags somehow. She was able to get her.
We don't have a lot longer, but these are really good opening statements for you to hear how they're trying to spin this. Basically, his defense is that he was in a poly relationship and she just wanted to leave and they got into a fight type of thing. Well, other than that, everybody just loves each other and everything's all great. And I love my 40s too. So much better than my 30s. And this guy is right around that age as well. He's not going to love his 40s at all. He's not going to love them one bit. He should have stayed in his fake poly relationship and not threatened them and did any of this crazy shit that he did. Excuse my language, y'all.
Paintings out of the storage. Nobody stopped her from doing that. They don't even describe it, according to what he just said. Mr. Bishop stopping her from doing anything. She gets outside to an Uber that she's somehow able to call. And yet she's been beaten so bad, according to her. When she gets out to the Uber, she decides that she wants to go back in and say goodbye to a person who allegedly has treated her so bad for so long. That's not false imprisonment.
Still with us, Attorney Ron Zambrano. Ron, just very different characterizations of what was going on and what happened. But the state, I thought, delivered a powerful opening to say what he did with that power is the problem and that he would not let her go and that he did have sex with her, even though she'd said no, amounting to rape and false imprisonment.
I think it was skillfully done how he laid this foundation of like, this guy had power. He wanted the power. He asked for the power. That's where we're starting from. And then from there, it's this argument from the prosecution side. He abused that power to the extent that he did the crimes that they're allegedly saying he did, such as making sure people can't leave or using or coercing them for sex. And it was only about sex. I think it was beautifully done. And I think the jurors are like, oh yeah, cult leader, power. How did he abuse it? I follow it. I think it's very, very skillfully done.
And quickly, how would you defend that? And what's your best defense?
I think the best defense is, look, she left in an Uber. How bad could she be? And look what she said at the time. But these things are delicate. We have some sexual assault cases and memory and the way people process things take time. And if the prosecutor is going to do that, they're going to need an expert to explain that.
13.
Well, yeah, even though I'm not covering that, I know you all could hear that. Wow, that was crazy, everybody. Maddie Soto, yeah. We're not talking about that case, but as everybody knows, and hello, Sadie's mama, and everybody else that's here, thank you so much on a mid-Saturday for me. It's 2:00 right now. This is not going to be a long one like last night, but I do have some stuff if you want to stick around. I have somebody that's going to testify against him, and we don't have to play the whole thing if you don't want. It's only like 10 minutes long, and then there's a couple of other funny clips where he tries to delay the whole court proceedings because of COVID, and him and the judge have words, and then another one where he tells the judge he loves her and she's just sick of his shit. So there's not a lot. I don't want to bore anybody on a Saturday or make you not do what you're doing, but it's pretty interesting stuff. So, hey, everybody, please hit the like button. Let's get my hours up. And I love doing this. So hopefully I can keep continuing to make content, eventually videos. Once I make videos, then I'll have to spend a lot more time, doing some editing and stuff. So let's listen to a little bit of the victim testifying if it doesn't get too graphic.
That and the girls that claim that you're God. I believe I'm God. Okay. I do. I believe that I'm God. I believe we're God. I believe everything is connected. I believe that you're God. I believe that the way I treat you is how I treat God. I believe you don't treat God. We don't praise it as God. We praise each other. The way I treat you is how I treat God. I don't put God in my mind. I put God as you. And I love you as I love God. And my relationship with you is my relationship with God. We're God. We're one. We're one earth, one source. We're all using the same here on this one rock. And in the middle of nowhere. And they're flying into the dimensions of the abyss of darkness. We're all on this one rock together. And we gotta get along. This is what I'm teaching. We can't keep fighting. And black people don't want to hear it. They don't, but I got to break it through. I can break that. All that I have right now, that's going to be on the news. That's going to put my name on the news. That's going to be on the news. So I'm looking at this like, this is what I need. I need press to get people to listen to me. Because they keep treating me as a joke. I'm telling them mathematics of the universe. I'm saying, listen, we need to eat this food. We need to get this much sunlight. We need to get out of the hood. Put the guns away. This is what we do.
Guess what? This guy talks fast. I'll slow it down.
That is the defendant in his police interview. Who is this guy? What is this case? It's out of Georgia. And that is Eligio Bishop. Take a look. He is a leader of this group, Carbon Nation. Is it a religion? Is it a cult? I don't know. I guess the jury will answer that question at this trial. But he's accused of.
Why aren't you putting your money? Are you for it? Are you, and it would be like verbal abuse. And so that was a rule. Another rule was that we couldn't use the bathroom. We had to use the bathroom a certain way. At one point in time, and because things progressed, it didn't keep happening, but it actually was a rule for us not to wear shirts. Like women couldn't wear shirts at one point in time. So we started putting
women couldn't wear shirts.
Going live. And other things that I wouldn't consider quote unquote rules, but were non-negotiable things in the group was that every woman had to have sex with Nature Boy or have some type of sexual fantasy with him. And a lot of times when that would happen, it would be forced and not consensual because it was not negotiable for anybody there. When I chose to be polygamous, we instantly was like monogamous.
We don't praise it as God, we praise each other.
No way.
The way I treat you is how I treat God. I don't put God in my mind. I put God as you. And I love you as I love God. And my relationship with you is my relationship with God.
I don't know what happened with that. It went backwards, but I'll fast forward it again and we can listen to a little bit more of that. But you can see I stopped to show you the pictures. That's so ridiculous that he's sitting there with the women and they're very upset, which anybody would be. They didn't get to wear shirts. They started putting leaves over their nipples. Everybody had to have sex with just him. So we heard a little bit of that. And again, I'm not going to play the whole thing because I have much better stuff to show you, and I want to start making sure I talk more about my cases when I have time to prep for them and just have more commentary.
This, if we want to call it a cult, we want to call it a congregation, whatever you want to call it, to be a member, it's non-negotiable. You need to have some form of sexual contact with this Eligio Bishop nature boy in this Carbon Nation. Your thoughts, Darnell, is this sexual assault? Is this non-consensual?
I just can't take this case seriously. It's like, is this the R. Kelly trial all over again? Is this Atlanta Housewives? Maybe the show.
Wait, R. Kelly got convicted, right?
That's why I wanted you all to see.
Yeah. So
okay, that was a
crazy.
crime. So
I just can't. I mean, but there was underage kids. That was really the
right. These
main
are
thing.
adults. These are adults. I haven't heard an allegation yet about someone being underage.
No.
Exactly. So these are adults, and she's saying it's non-negotiable. Most relationships aren't really negotiable. It's normally the woman who's holding you hostage. But she could have left if she wanted to. I haven't heard anything extraordinary here, except the fact that she thought, she's gonna have a kid, she's gonna be in love, she's gonna be monogamous. It's like any other relationship. It didn't work, and she said a lot of times the sex wasn't voluntary. But this is gonna be hard for a jury to wrap their heads around. They're gonna be saying, is she crazy? Is he crazy? This is not a David Koresh type situation.
It's not.
It's just
check this out.
It's everything from the original Koresh is the knockoff. This is the knockoff, and it's going to be a hard thing for the jury to find that she was coerced here. She could have left.
Wrong.
Jennifer Brandt.
Wrong.
Was this consensual, non-consensual? What are your thoughts about trying to figure out what was going on here in this Carbon Nation?
Well, first, Vinny, I have to say I'm worried about Darnell and his relationships, because if he thinks they're all non-negotiable, that's a problem right there.
I wonder if he's married.
Regardless, as to this case, I mean, if it's rape, it's rape. If it's not, if she doesn't agree, he's forcing himself upon her, I would call that rape. Whether she's a young woman or older woman.
Well, let me ask you.
It didn't sound like it was consensual.
Right. Well, she's saying non-negotiable. So if the negotiation is in the morning, you have to engage in sex with me or you're out of the group.
Right.
Is that if that's to the extent of the
may not be.
That may not be. So it's got to be something more.
But if he's forcing himself upon her, that is, you know what I mean? So it's a question of what was he actually doing? It does sound like a cult. I mean, these people were giving up all their money. They were giving up all their freedom to sort of go along with this group. And could they have left? I don't know. That's a question. I mean, once he has all their finances and, they're sort of stuck there. I don't know how easily it would have been for them to leave. But certainly if he's forcing himself on them, I think that's rape. That's rape. So we'll have to see what unfolds.
Al, where do you see the line here between consent and non-consensual?
Sorry, but I was just writing this down to myself. Note to self, gotta get me a cult. All right, so taking a look at this situation, okay. Well, first of all, there's only one true nature boy, and that's Ric Flair. That's the first thing. Carbon Nation is a stupid name for a cult. That's the second thing. And if you're taking a look at from the standpoint of what happened here, I mean, it does sound more sour grapes than it sounds like a I mean, in certain respects, Darnell is correct that it's a little ridiculous that they're going forward to this level. I mean, people don't like cults. People don't like to have these kind of situations. And this guy is such a freak show that he's going to get up there and just, if they play the tapes from, what he said to the police department, that I'm God, you're God, we're God, around we see God, God's here, God's there. I mean, this is the kind of freak that a jury is just going to have a real fun time just convicting, just based on that. And a guy like this will take the stand because there's no way he thinks he can convert anyone and everyone.
This is his moment. Darnell, did you hear the headline out of there? I wrote it down. Darnell is correct. Al said that.
I did like it. And the only way for Al to get a date is to get a cult.
Oh.
I'm gonna get called. I am gonna get called, but I'm gonna be known as Sensation Al.
There you go.
That'll be my name, and then it's gonna be the Humpty Hump Nation. That'll be
That's freaking ridiculous. Oh man. Hey, everybody, you got to admit this is pretty funny. Some of this stuff wasn't funny, obviously, when we're hearing the victims, but listening to this lighthearted talk and the banter back and forth, I'm not sure that I was a Darnell fan at all, because there's absolutely no line that needs to be drawn when you say no. Even if you're in the middle of something and you say no, it absolutely means no. And that was funny. Let's call it the double chocolate Costco cookie. Let's call it the double chocolate Costco cookie cult. That's better than Carbon Nation, Carly. That sounds good for lunch, but that sounds like a cult to me. I like the Humpty Hump Nation too. Man, yeah, I'm glad that we that was a little more lighthearted, because all of these cases that we've been doing have been missing children, not coming back, bodies found. So disheartening. I wake up thinking about it and go to sleep thinking about it, and it actually hurts my heart. There's nothing about it that's lighthearted. So it's a little lighthearted, little funny. All right, let's watch this funny clip. It's funny to me. It's funny to me. So let's watch it. This guy's an idiot. Eligio Bishop, from my mouth to your ears, he's a freaking idiot. All right.
Want to update you on the polygamist cult.
No, you're fine. That Mr. Bishop was on a live through a jail call yesterday, during which he indicated his desire that the case resolve in a mistrial so that the case would be assigned to another judge.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Bishop, I know you're doing everything you possibly can to try to get this case to go away, or at least get away from me. But that's not how it works. So
she said, "Get away from me."
She
does not like that man.
We've got the feed going. So
Mr. Bishop has indicated he did not make that statement on the jail call.
Okay.
Yeah, but the judge hates
there
you.
wasn't.
Get over it.
How he was able to post an Instagram live post from the jail.
Did you hear that?
Somebody emailed my office that there was some post. I wouldn't go. Yeah. Don't talk about it, Mr. Bishop. It's not going to help you. All right. Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick break so we get the Zoom link, and then we'll resume.
Oh my gosh, his poor attorney. Did you see his attorney shaking his head? That tells me he had no idea, and he's disgusted by the behavior, as the judge was. I want to bring in my guests. Let's talk about this a little bit. I have with me Corey Pegues and Dr. Janie Lacey. Corey, defendants just never cease to amaze us, don't they? This guy's in jail on trial being accused of rape, and he goes live on Instagram from the jail.
Well, listen, truth be told, that's quite common now. If you look on YouTube, you see all these prisoners in prison with cell phones. I don't know if the protocols are lax in prisons around the country, but it's not, I'm not surprised, Julie. Janie, I'm not surprised.
And I'm wondering, how does it happen? They're not supposed to have phones, right?
Right.
Who's slipping the phones into the jails and the prisons?
They have phones,
This guy is something else. Dr. Janie, I just want to bounce a couple of facts off of you, please, and get your reaction. So apparently this guy calls himself Nature Boy. I thought that Ric Flair was the only Nature Boy, but that's beside the point. Eligio Bishop, Corey got that reference, wrestling reference for any wrestling fans out there. Ric Flair, he's the real Nature Boy. This guy, this defendant, thinks he's the Nature Boy. He's 40 years old. He created this cult. The tenets of the cult, Dr. Janie, are veganism, nudism, and polygamy. He also, before becoming the leader.
Now, we already heard most of this, so I'm not going to sit through this again. I didn't hear about the veganism and all that, probably because he couldn't afford meat and he wanted them to live off of the land and eat fruit and whatever they can get. Probably just a cheap cult leader. I'm laughing about it, but these women were definitely, they were definitely traumatized by it, but I don't want to hear them talk about it again. This guy didn't even get her name right. He called her the wrong name. So I just wanted to see a couple of other clips and then watch him get sentenced, and what he says to the judge is funny. Let me see if I can see. Let me play something that he believes the way you can see this right here. Let's play it. I want to hear what he says.
The way I treat you is how I treat God. I don't put God in my mind. I put God as you. And I love you as I love God. And my relationship with you is my relationship with God. We're all one. From one earth, one source. We're all breathing the same air on this one rock in the middle of nowhere. Flying into the dimensions of the
Really quickly, y'all, if you came in late, this was him. He was posting videos on Instagram from his prison cell, because remember, he was in prison from like the last 2 years waiting for trial. So he actually does not take the stand, surprisingly, but he posts these things, and of course they're going to show it, and the judge can't stand him. She thinks he's an idiot, obviously. So that's why I'm listening to this, and then I'm going to get into the guilty verdict. I want you to listen to her happily hand down guilty, and then what you already see here, because I was waiting for the verdict. It was a verdict watch, and then I got it, and I came on today. So let's listen to this idiot, and then we'll watch his fate.
abyss of darkness. We're all in this one rock together. And we gotta get along. This is what I'm teaching. We can't keep fighting. The black people don't want to hear it. They don't, but I got to break it through. I can break, see that all that happened right now, that's gonna be on the news. That's gonna put my name on the news. And what explanations for the news. So I'm looking at this like, okay, cool, this is what I need. I need press to get people to listen to me. Because they keep taking it as a joke. I'm telling them mathematics of the universe. I'm saying, listen, we need to eat this food. We need to get this much sunlight. We need to get out of the hood, put the guns away. This is what we do. Because we keep ending up behind bars. So we have to let them tool the lane. And this is my message to the people.
Like I said, the tenets of the cult: veganism, nudism.
So, Juror 13, I do want to answer your question about nothing to do with the women, but cult leaders do that. Sarah's on here, and yeah, she will tell you probably better than anyone that's in the chat right now. A cult leader doesn't just grab you and take you. They're not like a sex trafficker that's going to kidnap you and bring you in against your will. They entice you. He wasn't a bad looking man. And for those women, he treated them nice, brought them in, sold them all these stories, and then he used social media to entice other people. So when you see the pictures, that was him staging the pictures on social media to bring other people in and show them that I'm the king. Look at my women, worship me. If you're a man, you're going to want to come into that. If you're a woman, you're going to want to come in with these other happy women. So they didn't want to be there at some point, but I'm in the beginning they did. He didn't kidnap them, no doubt.
And polygamy, and he says he is God. Dr. Janie, you told us all about this. It's like without even seeing that, you knew this is the kind of guy we're dealing with here, huh?
When you think about that, there are certain religious sects that believe that God is not outside of us, it's inside of us. But that does not necessarily mean that in this case, when we kind of potentially take someone that has some type of psychosis or some deep mental health challenges or deep rooted trauma, and being able to kind of create this almost narcissism of themselves to be able to get acceptance and validation from their community is very distorted, and is not necessarily something that people who truly believe in this religious nature that that they are God or God is in all of us necessarily take advantage of people. So there's definitely some different other things going on in this case.
Oh, for sure. Dr. Janie, this is so helpful. Thank you. I want to let you both know we just got another update here. So apparently after he decided to not be present, he reconsidered and returned to the courtroom. We want to show you a live look where now he's objecting to the judge.
Option that he has. He's happy to be in the court.
All right. Have you discussed his ability to testify or not testify in that context?
And that's another objection that we would have, Judge, because obviously his ability to testify into defend his case from the jail. He doesn't feel like it's a choice or an option that he has. He's happy to be in the court if the CDC guidelines are followed, in his opinion, but if the CDC guidelines are not followed, he feels compelled to follow his own health and his own best interest. And so he is going to go to the jail and observe his trial there. He understands that his ability to testify, and I believe his ability to testify would certainly be encumbered if he chooses to testify. But at this point, I think he's going to take his own health over anything else. So I would advise him of his right to testify or not testify. I do think that he will not choose to testify under these circumstances, but you can certainly inquire of him and explain to him his right, because obviously that's what the court will do.
All right. Well, the trial is going forward. We've been through that significantly. We, just for the record, we did recess Tuesday afternoon for the rest of the day Tuesday and all day yesterday. We are back here this Thursday, and we are ready to go forward. We had a company come in and sanitize the courtroom. We have a machine, an air circulation filtration system going in the courtroom. I provided masks for anybody who wants them, spectators, anybody, jurors, lawyers. And you can have 2 masks. You want a double mask? You can double mask.
I love her.
I am going to continue to wear a mask during the trial. And I think, frankly, folks are safer.
She's so condescending, and I get it. She hates him. She cannot stand this guy, but you hear her, you can have 2 masks, whatever you're at, double up. They were trying to delay it. He didn't want to be sentenced and be off to whatever he's off to next. So he'll be in prison forever, plus 10 years, and we'll watch that right after this.
Now than they were on Monday, because now I'm wearing a mask. We have shields? Where's the shield? What's the? Okay. What did we do? All right, put it over the mask. All right, we can.
She's so condescending. I love
we have
her.
A face shield too. We can put a face shield on.
Face shield.
He's not going to want a face shield.
He's not going to want. He doesn't want a face shield.
He's not asking for a face shield. He's indicating that the court is still positive for COVID, and because of that, he does not want to be in the courtroom. He's elected to take advantage of his own health. He's entitled to do that.
Sure.
That's.
All right, just make sure the record is clear that I am not instructing that he leave the courtroom. My preference is for him to stay and participate in his defense with his attorney. However, if he does not want to be here, we will make arrangements for him to observe the proceedings from the jail courtroom.
But he does want to be here, Judge. He just
It's his choice. So I want him here. Everybody else is here. Everybody else is fine. Jurors are here ready to go. Attorneys are here ready to go. The only person that has a problem is Mr. Bishop. So that is his right, and I'm not infringing upon that. If he is uncomfortable being in this courtroom, I will consider it a voluntary absence, and we will bring him back to the jail, where he will put on his orange jumpsuit, and he will observe the trial from the jail courtroom.
He is aware of that, Judge, and if he would just go ahead and go through his right to testify or not.
Yep. All right, Mr. Bishop, do you understand? Mr. Bishop,
so
do you understand?
irritated.
I need to know you understand these things.
You hear how irritated and condescending she is? That was the best part of this entire trial, was the condescending irritation and just over the top things that she said. Love her. I'd like to meet this judge.
Mr. Bishop.
Judge.
Yeah.
Mr. Bishop would like to inquire if the court would state on the record whether you're still positive for COVID or not.
I have no idea. I don't know. I was positive on Monday night. I feel a million times better today than I did on Monday night.
He just wants the record to reflect that you're here in court. You could be potentially still positive for COVID. And his options are to be positive, be in the courtroom with someone who's positive for COVID or not.
All right, we've gone through, yeah, I understand. You've made your record, Mr. Bishop, you've made your point. It's interesting to me for all sorts of reasons that that's your concern, but at any rate.
Right. So Mr. Bishop clearly instructing his counsel there to let her honor know that he objects to her being in the courtroom. He's saying he has COVID-19 concerns. Apparently the judge had it, has returned, is wearing a mask. He's wearing a mask, and he is trying to use.
Never object to the judge or get on the judge's bad side. Anybody, if you've ever been to court or anything, even if it's traffic court, always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, you're right, I'm sorry, and be very sincere. Never, never object to the judge being in the courtroom on your last day of testimony when it's about to wrap up, especially. Oh, this judge is great. I love her.
COVID as a reason to delay the trial. The judge has indicated over and over again that it's not being delayed. It's going to keep on moving forward. So while they were on the little break there, we're going to hit our little break here.
Also, you will have the right to testify in this case in your own defense if you would like. You do not have to. It is entirely up to you. If you choose to testify, you will be subject to cross-examination like any other witness would be. If you do not testify, I will instruct the jury that they are not allowed to hold that against you in any manner. And you can consult with your attorney about whether or not you want to testify or whether or not it's in your best interest, but ultimately the decision has to be made by you. So.
We have, Judge, we discussed whether or not he wants to testify or not. He will tell you exactly what he chooses to do so. But he wants to make sure the record is clear that his ability to be here in court, he doesn't feel like he's had any other option but to take his own health. That issue is not something that he's just electing to do. He's indicating that he's not going to be here in a courtroom where someone tests positive for COVID. He's not.
Just so you know, Juror 13, I love talking to you all. You actually can't appeal on those grounds at all because she's irritated. If you know anything about, and you watch all the court, I watched a lawyer, you know, and any lawyer that I can talk about this, you actually cannot appeal unless you object to something at the time in court. So there's appeal lawyers that go back through all of this. And if his attorney was objecting to the way she was talking to him, then he can go back and appeal, but that's not a ground for appeals. There's so many things that are grounds that would be, but she's making sure that there are no grounds for an appeal on that basis. He's never going to get an appeal for this. I don't think he's going to ever get an appeal in any way, shape, or form. They're going to file one, but he'll exhaust them. And, yeah, none of this is going to make any difference to that. So his attorney's not objecting to anything. And that's the only way that you can file that, if you object and then go back and say that. And he's not. Basically, she's just talking to him like he's an idiot that he is.
And so he understands that going to the jail is his option because he's until late. He has indicated that he does not want the trial to start. And so he's at the jail and on the camera and able to see what's going on in his own trial.
Okay, well, again, as I mentioned, he's the only person who has an issue with this. So the trial is going forward with him here or with him in the courtroom jail. That is his decision. Also, Mr. Bishop, if you choose to go back to the jail to observe the trial, you're not going to be able to change your mind and come back. There's too much involved. Time, it's going to take about 30 minutes to get you there, dressed out, and back into the courtroom, and we don't have time for the back and forth business. So once you exercise this option that I'm giving you, and this is, make no mistake, this is your choice. This is your choice, okay? If you exercise your option to do this, that's on you, and you're not gonna be able to undo it. You're not gonna be able to come back for parts of it. So you either stick around and we finish this trial, or you go to the jail courtroom and you observe.
And Judge, again, he's indicating it's not a matter of his choice. He doesn't feel like he has an option, so it's not a choose A or B. It's a not going to be in the courtroom because there's someone here that's talking to COVID. So he's asking.
The judge laughed right now.
He's asking if we will just give him time to get back to the jail so he goes out. And you were just asking whether or not he intended to testify. Mr. Bishop, do you intend to testify in this case? Do you feel like you have an option to testify?
I have an option, but I don't know if I want to.
Okay. If you are, so you're gonna have to be a part of yes or a no whether you intend to.
Yes or no, dummy?
I don't know.
I don't know is
Okay.
an answer.
Well, then we'll ask him again. I notified him of his rights on the record. I will ask you again outside the presence of the jury at the conclusion of the defendant's evidence, if you want to testify or not. And if you do, you'll have to testify from the jail courtroom without having your attorney there. Your attorney will be here. Do you understand that?
Probably not.
Okay, well, I can't make it any clearer. Yes, Mr. Coveney?
I can just put two things on the record.
Yes, please.
One, I just
Not
want to
the
establish that we
sharper
do
tool.
have technology that would allow Mr. Bishop to testify from the jail courtroom.
Yes.
And
He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, everybody. And yeah, so they're gonna let him be in the other room. He's not gonna testify. He says I don't know because he probably just his ego's not letting him say no. So let's watch this, and then I want to hear the verdict with everybody. He's an idiot.
He's going to go back to the jail court. Whether he chooses to testify at that point or not will be a decision that he will make. Because at this point, I don't know that he's made a ultimate decision. But he's elected to go to the jail court, and he will dress out in his own garb, and he will pop up on the screen and watch it just like everybody else. So we're ready to get going.
All right, let's do it. We'll be in recess until we get Mr. Bishop.
Okay, so back to the jail he will go. His decision. The judge explained how he can still view the proceedings, participate in the proceedings, even testify from the jail because he is adamant that his health is at risk. Despite everyone being in compliance with the CDC guidelines, he thinks he's safer from COVID in the jail. Okay. Well, if he does an Instagram Live again, the judge is going to be watching for it. All right.
So this case made my day when I woke up to the guilty verdict, even though it was it happened yesterday, but I was doing a really long live. I think we did like 2.5 hours yesterday. So today when I saw it, I was like, yes. So now we're going to watch this together, and we're going to watch the fate of this man, which I already told you. So let's watch his fate, and then what he says to the judge, and then we'll wrap it up, and everybody can get to their whatever it is that you all are doing today. I just want to lay on the couch the rest of the day, honestly. I'm exhausted.
The jury in indictment number 24 CR 1183, State of Georgia versus Eligio Bishop. On count 1, how does the jury find? Count 1 is rape. Guilty. And count 2, false imprisonment. Guilty. Count 3, prohibition on nude or sexually explicit electronic transmissions. Guilty. Count 4, prohibition on nude or sexually explicit electronic transmissions. Guilty. And count 5, prohibition on nude or sexually explicit electronic transmissions. Guilty. All right. And it is signed and dated by you as the foreperson. Correct. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to have the deputy provide the verdict form to the state and to the defense for them to review.
I had to boost it up quite a bit, so I'm going to try not to blow your ears out with my talking, but did you all hear the charges? Either way, he got guilty on all counts, and you can go back and watch it. Guilty, 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 guilty. So no, Sadie's mama, it wasn't just one person. It was multiple women. There was multiple victim impact statements from men and women. I didn't want to play those. Some of them got graphic, and the sound was terrible. You can tell from it was Fox 5 that was recording, and it just wasn't good audio. So I listened to it this morning and decided not to play it. Also, I don't feel like being on here for 2 hours today. I'm tired, and it's Saturday.
All right. Go ahead and mute courtroom C, please. Thank you. All right. Anything further from the defense?
No.
Okay. Anything further from the state?
Shall be filing a motion to seal the jurors any identifying information in this case. I'll have that up by the end of the day. But other than that, no, yeah.
Okay, and as far as the sentencing, when does?
I was muted, and I want to let you know he was up on that screen. I muted myself because I had to have it so freaking loud to hear it. So sorry about that. One boo-boo today. Last night I had a lot of them. Last night I felt like just a complete absurd thing going on. So yeah, when you saw that screen, he's in another courtroom watching this. You can see the empty chair there where he was. He thinks he's going to get COVID. So I think that was an excuse. That's really all I said, is that he was tired of being in court dressed up and not being able to talk and make faces. So no, your earphones did die. Every once in a while I mess up like that. I've only been on YouTube for a little over a month now. I'm getting the hang of it, and I appreciate you all for being here with me.
When do y'all want to go forward with that?
We'd be prepared to go forward as soon as this afternoon, whenever the court would like.
You hear that? They're going to sentence him in an hour. Swift justice.
We have some of the individuals that testified as witnesses would like to appear by Zoom, so there'll be a few minute delay in getting those invitations sent out and notifying those individuals.
Okay.
Ms. Newell is here, obviously in person.
I want to thank you for your service. And you can go back to the jury room one final time. Do we have their we have their letters? I'll come back there and give you, I'll stand far away, but give y'all your letters, and then we will get you outside and on your way. So thank you very much for your service. And if you just hold for a few minutes for me, I'll be there momentarily.
All right, everybody. I'm not muted. I'm going to stop this, and we're going to listen to this man, Eligio. So I have the full sentence hearing here, and I'm not going to play it. Like I stated earlier, it's just too much, and I don't want to listen to let me make sure I get the right one. Yeah, it's a verdict, and then he gets to, it's a sentence hearing where he, after the verdict, where he gets to talk before being sentenced. And I am playing the part where he talks to the judge. He gets to make a sentence, or not a sentence, a statement, but he's only allowed to address the judge. He can't address the victims and taunt them anymore. So as you can see, it's 55 minutes and 51 seconds. I'm not going to play all that. If you want to listen to the sentence hearing, you can certainly go back and hear all the victim impact statements. I don't want to be sad today. I'm in a happy mood. So let's laugh at him some more and listen to the shit he says. The stuff that comes out of his mouth is outrageous.
For sure. At all times.
All right, what is it you'd like me to consider?
I just want to say something to all of them.
Nope, not to all of them.
I just want to say.
Just direct it to me, please, not to.
I'll direct it to you. I'll direct it to you.
Okay.
Are you happy? Are you happy?
I'm not answering any questions of yours, Mr.
I forgive you.
So funny.
I forgive you, and I still love you. I forgive you, and I still love you. I got nothing in my heart. I'm not mad at you. I'm not upset with you. I forgive you. I want you to know I still love you and forgive you. And kiss my baby girl and let her know I love her. And I love y'all. I would never, I promise you, you know how I am. In my heart, you know how I am. I still love you. I still fuck with you. I still love you.
He said, I still fuck with you.
I got that.
And no hate.
Okay.
No hate.
Is there anything else?
My heart, light as a feather. I promise you, I love you and I'm still here. I ain't missed one lick. I see what y'all doing, and I want you to know, I forgive you. And I see y'all in the end.
All right, thank you.
I love you. I love you.
All right, I just muted the courtroom.
Oh, man.
Right.
That's great.
The recommendation from the state.
Just a brief argument,
yes,
if I
sure.
may.
Of course.
I think all of this
arises out of obviously an environment where women and the four women that have been before the court, as well as others who have not, were stripped by this defendant of their autonomy, stripped of their strength. And I think last week, those young women took that back in pretty epic fashion. You watched the defendant in the last 25, 30 minutes. His antics, the gesturing, the laughing in court as these young women are telling their story to Your Honor again. He does not believe he did anything wrong. And he will, for the rest of his life, be a danger to this community and a danger to any women he encounters in this community. Because we're asking for, the state is asking for a sentence on the rape charge of life without the possibility of parole. The other counts to run concurrent.
Never piss off the judge.
False imprisonment carries a maximum sentence of 10 years.
Never rape anybody either.
The state's position is that,
But never piss off the judge.
the first revenge porn counts 4 and 5, excuse me. The second and third revenge porn counts. The state's position is that each of those maximum sentence is 5 years in custody.
All right, so we're taking that into consideration, y'all. We heard what he had to say, and we're so happy, right? Yay! I woke up happy today. I heard this guy all week, and I heard the judge all week. I was making shorts on YouTube of this, and most people didn't even know what I was talking about because they can't. They didn't see that, or the R word, the SA stuff, right? So let me lower this a little bit because I have it all the way up so you guys can hear it, and I apologize. I'm trying not to talk so loud, and then I have to raise the volume and lower it back. So now we're going to listen to his sentence being handed down to him, and then I'm going to show you a 51-second clip of him. It's funny. It's how he looked when they started the trial, and then how he looked at the end. It's just 51 seconds. So, it's wow, your ear. Did I get really loud? Sadie's mama. That's what I'm referring to. I'm sure I did. I was all the way up to 100. So I'm gonna have to go back again to hear this Fox 5 thing. It's so low. All right, let's listen to this. I just want to hear what she gives him.
I think all of this arises out of obviously an environment where women and the four women that have been before the court, as well as others who have not, were stripped by this defendant of their autonomy, stripped.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. We know. We already solved this. Now let's hear what the judge has to say. That's all I want to know.
You know, I would have been inclined to exercise some discretion had Mr. Bishop shown any remorse, guilt, or regret throughout this process. And I saw nothing during the trial but for
Agreed.
him laughing and cutting up and looking shocked and surprised at all of the testimony. Mr. Bishop, you're a master manipulator and probably the classic definition of a narcissist that I've ever seen. You took advantage
Yes.
of
My favorite part.
folks who were essentially lost souls, looking for some guidance, looking for some connection, or looking for some comfort. And you were able to fill a void for them for some reason. But in the process, you completely took advantage of them and have caused potentially, I hope not, but potentially irreparable harm. I hope that all of the victims will be able at some point in time to recover from this.
Best judge ever.
To find some type of peace in their lives. And maybe the verdict will help in that regard. But I hope you all are able to move on at some point and find some peace, whatever that is for you. So with that, I am going to follow the recommendation of the state in this case. On the rape, he'll be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, followed by 10 years consecutive for the false imprisonment. And on the internet porn, count 3, 12 months to serve, concurrent to the false imprisonment. The internet porn, I'll run concurrent to the false
I don't think he's getting out, guys.
Internet, 5 years. So it's 12 months on count 3, 5 years on count 4, and 5 years on count 5. All of that will run concurrent to the false imprisonment. But the false imprisonment is consecutive. So it's life without parole plus 10 years. And hopefully he will never be able to take advantage of anybody else again.
Can you be sure to go over his post-conviction rights with him as well?
Yes.
Judge, before, I know there were certain conditions, obviously, with the way the law currently exists.
All right, I'm going to lower this so I don't blow your ears out. I usually keep it about 70. Okay, now I can talk normally, and I'm going to stop sharing this because, yay, we can all celebrate now. 2 things we can celebrate. One, we can celebrate the verdict. He's never getting out with life without possibility of parole plus 10 years. And the other charges, I stopped counting once she said that. I doubt he's going to ever get to appeal this and actually make it into court. So we can consider him out of here. Second thing I'm celebrating is that my intro and outro is going to be done, or actually someone has a new intro and outro. True Crime Investigate says that means me. So that means from now on, I'm going to have intros and outros and look a lot better and not have to say the same thing every time. And you guys will have all my information, which is great. By the way, Anthony, I did get a PayPal account, and I'll give you that, the name of it. Obviously, it's the PayPal me / guilty of crime, just FYI. So hello, Greeno, Sarah, coming in here today, Sadie's mama, Carly, you're always amazing. Anthony, Greeno, True Crime Investigates, you're amazing. I have a 51-second clip just to show you how he looked and how he looks now. And I think that's going to be the trend to this guy. He's going to go downhill from here. And I can care less what happens to him. All right, let me share this real quick, and then we'll do my outro, and I'll say bye to everybody, and maybe I'll get to see my new intro and outro. We'll see if Anthony is going to just tease me or show me.
An alleged cult leader will now spend the rest of his life in prison after a jury found him guilty Friday on all counts, including rape. Eligio Bishop, also known as Nature Boy, was on trial for rape, false
Look at him
imprisonment,
then
and
when he
3 counts
started.
of sharing sexually explicit content.
He
on
looked
social
decent when
media.
he started.
Prosecutors say the crimes happened
Now watch.
while he was a leader of a cult called Carbonation. Bishop spoke to the courtroom right after his sentencing once victims read their impact statements.
Is there anything else?
My heart,
Did you see that?
I promise you, I love you, and I'm still here. I ain't miss one lick. I see what y'all doing, and I want you to know I forgive you. And I see y'all in the end.
The DeKalb County judge issued the maximum sentence, sending Bishop to prison for life, plus 10 years without the possibility of parole.
All right. So yeah, you saw that. That's what he started out looking like, and I'll pause it on this. That is what he looked like at the end. Right there. Well, that was not the best pause, but you can see he started out looking like a decent man that could get women. And that's what happens when you go to jail and you're in prison for the rest of your life and you don't get your Botox. I'm sure he didn't have Botox, but you don't get your nice haircuts and your weaves and all your stuff. So let it be a lesson, everybody, especially anybody that is around or near a cult. I'd love to do a show with you, Sarah. So email me, please, about that. I'm not really sure what draws me to cults, but I just did cults last night, and then I have another one today. So I am going to leave you all with a very happy Saturday. Thank you so much for being here, every one of you. The more watch hours that I get and the more I get into the algorithm, the better I'm going to get at this. The more practice I'm going to do when I keep doing this, I promise you all I'll get better. I'm already getting better with this intro and outro that I'm about to hop off this for. So everybody, please have a very good Saturday. I'm Jay with Guilty of Crime, and I will see you soon. And I'll let you know what my next planned date is. Have a good one, everybody. Stay safe.